Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Fatmata here from Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art. It is Saturday morning, February 22nd, and I wanted to give you a follow-up of what's been happening since the last time we spoke. Last weekend was President's Day weekend, so it was a long one. We had 3 days. And I did get some sewing done. I actually took my kiddos to my parents' house and my husband traveled, so I had like a day and a half where it was just me and I got to do what I wanted, and I wanted to sew. I have finished the dress that we last spoke about, which is Simplicity S9886. I made the length of view B and extended the sleeves here. I was using some remnant denim pieces from my stash, ones that I picked up at Joann Fabrics. And I had mentioned to you all in the previous video that I recognized that my dark wash denims, or my denims in general, were not all the same wash or the same type of fabric. So up here you have this thicker, denser stretch denim. And then in the skirt panels are all 4-ounce denims, 100% cotton, no elastane in here. And I wanted to have the waterfall effect going from the darkest to the lightest as is shown in the model's photo. As I was re-watching the video that I made, it had never even occurred to me to try this version here, where I do the mid-wash denim up top, the dark, and then the light, which I actually think I would have had enough fabric for. The reason why I ended up including the stretch denim is because I didn't have enough of the dark wash denim in the 4-ounce weight, because I had picked up just one remnant cut of that, but I did have quite a few of the mid-wash denims left. You can see here I still have quite a bit, and I believe the mid-wash is still available. So that probably could have worked. I sincerely don't know how I missed that as a possibility. I think what happened was that I committed to using the dark wash up top because I felt like it would hide any sweat stains really well. So when I had committed to that, I just never even thought of anything else. But in rewatching the video, I was like, right there on the cover, they gave you an option. Anyway, so much went wrong with this garment. It's not my favorite. It's been a week and I haven't looked at it or worn it, so I might try and wear it in a little bit in this video and see if my mind has changed, but let me just tell you a little bit. So as you can see here, all of the pieces are their own separate piece. So in the back, what I noticed from the time lapse that I took of myself cutting out this pattern is that I had laid everything out initially. It fit fine. And then when I went to actually cut it out, when I laid it out again, I thought, oh, I have another way that I can smush the pattern pieces even closer together, nest them even closer, if I just turn the princess seam pieces upside down and just make them fit in like the crevices there. That was a mistake. That was not a good idea. I am trying to connect the bodice back to the bodice front at the side seams. I've constructed a bodice back, one of them. It's all princess seamed, as you can see with the pieces there. And this one, so as you can see, of course, this little narrow piece should connect with this narrow piece right here. Right here. So I was going and I was like, how do I do this right sides together? Why is this both? Why? What's happening? What's happening? Well, it would appear, and I knew something was wrong initially because I have these two back pieces, and when I went to connect them to the center backs, they weren't matching up. Okay, I was like, this is odd. I can't do it right sides together. What's happening? I thought somehow maybe I did something wrong with the side pieces. So I recut the side pieces so that they were the right way. No. The little side pieces were not the issue. It's the center backs. I rewatched my time lapse and I had placed the center back bodice pieces upside down on the fabric. I did not notice that that was going to mean that I was cutting the reverse of it. So it's supposed to be like this. Yeah, I'm really annoyed with myself, so I have to recut this. And then I tried laying the pattern pieces like this to see if I could salvage any of this, but look, 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 look. You know what? This thing is already so patchworky. Instead of cutting into the other length of the stretch denim that I have, which has been untouched, I think I am actually just gonna piece a little bit of denim right here in the corner, and cut out the pieces that I'm supposed to have. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I'm not recutting this whole thing. I refuse to do that. I refuse to do it. So it's going to be a bit more patchworky, but I will come back to show you how I solved my snafu. Together, I was like, there are already so many seams in this. What's one more? So what I ended up doing here was that I added, and it's going to be hard for you to see, but I lengthened the bodice piece that used to be this one here. I just lengthened it. I had that little tip here. When I connected all the other pieces, the seam allowance goes, so you don't see how much was added, but I lengthened that so that it would fit that shape. And then I ended up using the side princess seam pieces here that I had previously cut. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to extend it. I'm going to extend it and make it meet and create the shape that this is supposed to have, but I'm not recutting it. So I made it work with what I had already cut out. For the sleeves, I didn't have enough to cut out a long sleeve, so I had told myself already I was going to extend the sleeves. I initially thought that I wanted a slim sleeve, but then when I was cutting things out, I was like, oh, I can get a really nice balloon sleeve here to use up as much of this fabric as possible. So I went against my better judgment and cut out a balloon sleeve. Let me just tell you all the issues first. Let's do that. Then I decided that I wanted to do piping because one of my sewing goals is to use up more of my trim, of course. So I decided to add piping to this garment, and I was of two minds. I didn't know if I wanted it to be contrast piping or if I just wanted it to blend in. I happen to have some navy piping as well as some mid-tone blue piping, and I put it in my group chat, my sewing girls group chat, just to figure out what the consensus was, if I should just match them. So put the navy piping next to the dark wash, put the lighter piping, you know, next to the mid-tones, and that was the vote that I got. I had also thought about flipping it, like putting the darker piping next to the lighter washes, putting the lighter one here, just so it'd be more contrast. But I went with the vote that I got, and I don't actually know that you can tell that I added piping, and it is a really significant step. Another thing that had to happen for me to get these pieces cut out of the remnants that I had was that I had to cut it on the cross grain. So because this is denim, you can kind of see that the grain line is going horizontally instead of vertically up and down, because I didn't cut it like along the grain. And that was because that's how I could actually fit the pattern pieces on here. And I think that does impact the drape of this. Then when I was minding my business and serging the corners, because all of these are curved seams, I was being very diligent about making sure that I'm moving the fabric, you know, from the bottom out of the way so that it doesn't, you know, get into the blade, except for this one spot where I let my guard down. And I just was serging, and I was like, that does not feel like the same level of thickness. And surely I cut right through it. The reason why it doesn't look as evident right now is because I patched it. I put another section of the fabric behind it and put some knit interfacing just to patch it together. And then, as you can see there, my thread, I went and stitched on top of it, hand stitched on top of it to keep the fraying down, and then cut off all the sections that have started fraying already. So I nicked into my fabric with the serger. That was annoying. I tried on the dress with the puffy sleeves and despised it. I really didn't like it. It had too much structure. The drape was awful. It just wasn't working. So then I just went in and unceremoniously just slimmed it out. I just hacked off what I could and made it a slimmer shape. It still has a lot of excess fabric right here under the arms. At that point, I could care less. Then, to add insult to injury, when this is in the light, I think it's very obvious that the bodice and the skirt sections are not the same. And the girls were very kind in my sewing group chat, and they were like, oh, I can, like, now that you pointed out, I can tell, but I actually don't mind it. Like, it doesn't look bad. For me, knowing what the intention of the pattern is to have that sort of seamless waterfall, it bothers me. It bothers me that it's not seamless. So that annoyed me. But really, I think what has taken me over the edge that really makes me not like this is that the view that I cut, view B, I thought was going to be a maxi length dress. View B is actually midi length. When the photo showed me this lovely model here in view A, and it came below her knee, I assumed, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I assumed that meant this was maxi. But now that I'm looking at the photo, if that's right below the knee, that's not as much of a difference. So maybe it was just me. Oh, if you are looking to make this pattern, just know that view B is indeed a midi length. And because the bottom of this, because majority of this dress is made out of this 4-ounce denim, my idea was to have like a fun denim dress that I could wear throughout the spring summer. And when I'm wearing dresses in the spring summer, I'm not wearing tall boots. I am going to be wearing flats, sneakers, things of that nature. And having this be a midi just means there's a lot more of like the bottom of my leg on show than I want. I wanted it to be maxi. I thought I was making a maxi dress. I did change my thread color as I was hemming the bottom to match the color of the denim that I was working on, so that has a clean finish. The piping made it so bulky in the back here at the zipper, so I can only zip it down to this first section here where all these seams are meeting, because if I take it below that, it is very hard. Like if I try and pass where this piping is right here, it's a nightmare. So I've just been unzipping it just to that section because I don't want to fight and I don't want the zipper to break. Anything else? Then I did the same sort of flipping the pattern piece upside down, like flipping the pattern piece so that I could economize the fabric. I did that same thing in this bottom tier here, and you can tell this is the wrong side of my fabric because I cut it out wrong. So luckily I did that on the lightest wash of this denim, where the wrong side and the right side are not starkly different, and because one is on the front of my body and the other is on the back, I think I kind of get away with it, but that was another mistake. So when you are cutting out this pattern, truly, this is probably one that you do want to look at the cutting layout and take their advice, and also make sure that you're cutting things right sides up, side by side, not pattern piece like flipped, so that you economize the fabric. It just would make sense. When you're looking at fabric, you're like, what would I do with all of that wasted space? But there you have it. That is my S9886. I do like the jewel neckline because I want to find something positive to say about it. I do like the fit of the bodice. I actually think that I really enjoy this pattern. I just don't like the version that I made for the reasons that I've just shared. I will also say that for me, it looks less fitted on her in this midsection, and for me it is quite fitted, so that could be my cutting of the pattern size that I went with, and I decided to go with a size 12 and grade it out at the hips. I could absolutely see myself revisiting this pattern, maybe in a lighter fabric, maybe in some viscoses, maybe in just silky type poly fabric, and giving it another shot. I think, again, the design lines and the idea of this dress are really beautiful. I think my execution of this particular one was not that great, given the fact that I was using remnant pieces and had to work around that. I showed it to my best friend, particularly this back section where I cobbled together these pieces to make it work. And she was like, wow, you're such a great problem solver, which was at that moment probably the best and the nicest thing you could have said to me in that moment. And then all I wanted to say was, I don't want to be a problem solver. I just want it to work the first time. But I am really proud that I was able to make it through all of those many challenges of this dress and walk away with something that is wearable for somebody. And I am curious to see if this grows on me or if I end up repurposing this fabric to do something else with it. After making this denim dress, and you can tell I'm not happy with it, so I needed a quick win. I had time to sew. I wanted to make it worth my while. So I looked at the bottom of my little roller caddy that I have in my sewing space, and I have some patterns that I had cut out previously, and I'm talking 2023. So I went in there and pulled out this very easy, very Vogue 9014, which I had cut out the trousers here, view C. I cut those out a while ago in this gorgeous rayon fabric that I picked up at G Street Fabrics in the dead stock section. I had tried to pattern match the legs really nicely. It's a very beautiful drapey fabric. This pant pattern does not have pockets in it, and I had made the skirt view of this, or variation thereof, for my sister-in-law and noticed that it didn't have pockets. I think I added pockets to hers, but for this one, again, I was looking for easy, so I made it as it was intended. I had cut out some pockets. I was going to try and hack them in, and decided in that moment I didn't care. This is so lightweight that honestly, if I try and put my phone in here, it would drag the entire thing down. So you just wear this with a fanny pack. That's what I've chosen for myself here. So I made them. They're floaty, they're fun. I am on a quest to find like my favorite pair of wide leg elasticated waist trousers, so I have something that I can my children in the kitchen, so that I have a pair when I want to whip something up quickly that I can go to. And this might be a contender. I don't know that I love it, but I'm very happy that I have made it and got it out of my whips pile, my works in progress, and now it has progressed. Now it is here. So it is one that I might be able to go to, but I think I am in the market for a pair of elasticated waist trousers, maybe like a slant slash pocket that feels really comfortable and nice. This one called for quite a bit of elastic in the waistband. I think they wanted you to do 4 different channels and feed elastic through. I used a 1.5 inch elastic and just top stitched that down. So I think that works for me. And I look forward to wearing this when the weather warms up. So my younger cousin was starting to think about what she might want to wear for Eid at the end of the month of Ramadan, the celebration that we have. And she was interested in these abayas, which are butterfly abayas, which are very floaty and billowy, but they cinch in at the waist. And I was watching some videos and I found one. I will try and link the one that I watched down below. It's one of those videos where like there are no words, just a couple of measurements up on the screen and you can follow along. And for this type of garment, that's sort of what I needed. I could just skim through it and see the measurements and what I needed. I had this gorgeous fabric. It is, I think, like a poly satin. It's a beautiful white fabric with this sort of vertical striping. or the stripe, it was horizontal, but I cut it out so that they go vertically. And I wanted to use it. I had 3 yards of this, and I was gifted this fabric by my great friend Aminata. So I'm very, very happy. I think she brought it back for me from Liberia, and it's just so drapey and floaty and beautiful because it's white and you can sort of, I wouldn't say it's see-through, but it's white. So I always get very nervous about like, what do I make with that so that it doesn't show through. But I felt like the butterfly abaya with me wearing like a slip under it would be absolutely fine to make here. So I want to say I used the tutorial that I hope to link down below, and also just self-drafting to make it work for what I wanted. I used the full length of the 3 yards to get this as long as I could. It came up a little bit short, so then I ended up adding this beautiful velvet sort of fabric that I have, and I cut it out into strips so I can use it as trim, so it looks like eyelash lace there. It's very, very beautiful. So I put that along the entire bottom edge as well to give me a smidgen more length, but I could also wear this with leggings underneath. And it is a butterfly abaya, so I am going to turn that inside out so you can see what that means. So what that means is that you have these ties on the inside that you would use to cinch it in around your waist. So it cinches in around your waist, but just in the front so that the back is still loose. And it gives a really, really beautiful shaping. So hopefully you've seen some images or some cutaways of what that looks like on. I French seamed the entire thing. There aren't that many seams. So you have the shoulder seams because you want them to slope down a little bit. And then the side seams. And then for some butterfly abayas, they literally just sew a straight seam from the armhole down. I curved mine in a little bit. You can see that curve there a little bit. And then went to meet up with this design on my fabric. So mine has that curve there, and then it just goes straight down to follow along with this pattern on the fabric. I bias bound the necklines with just white bias binding that I had in my stash. So it feels very clean, very nice. It feels chic and elevated. I think I made this within about 2.5 hours. And though this fabric can be a little bit shifty because of that satin finish on the front, what I did was I used Wonder Tape. And because I was following along with this design on the fabric, I went ahead and applied the Wonder Tape, and this was when it was wrong sides together, and matched up that pattern up until where I knew I would curve out for the arms. And that was great. Then I just took that as it was straight to my overlocker and ran it along that line. I had drawn out where I wanted the slope on the shoulder to be and for the underarms. And again, I held those in place and ran it through my overlocker. So I overlocked it first, and then I pressed it, flipped it right sides together, and then did my next pass there on the sewing machine. And that's how I did the French seam for this. So it's overlocked first, again, to prevent any fraying because this fabric was a lot. And then it just made it a little bit, I don't know, for me, faster in that moment to do that. The fabric that kind of came away from this side cutout here is what I used for my ties. So while it's not zero waste, it was very minimal waste for this pattern, and I feel really excited that I got to use these 3 yards in such a beautiful way. I did apply knit interfacing where I was going to attach the straps on the inside, just because that cinching and that pulling I knew could have a lot of wear and tear on this. Again, I hope you saw the photos, but this was basically like a prototype just so I can see how I would want to make the butterfly abayas, and my cousin is looking for some fabric that she would really like me to make her one out of. She wants it to have some fluttery bits, some ruffling maybe along the arm side or the you know, the ends and things like that. But I have the basic premise down, and I feel really confident that I can execute that when she finds the fabric that she likes. What I am currently wearing, I also made that weekend, and this fabric I actually picked up at G Street Fabrics in the dead stock section a couple of years ago. I have thought about destashing it, then I've kept it, so many things. When I first got this fabric, I put it in the washing machine, as I do with all of my fabrics, to pre-wash it. And I did so with a load of new towels that I had just purchased. I figured they're white towels, I'll pop it in with this. I'm already doing a load of laundry, no problem. It came out with all of the pills. It pilled so badly. I don't know if you could see it there. It pilled so badly. And it was one of those fabrics that like just wants to attach itself to anything. Do you see? Thread, everything sticks to this. It's like staticky. It just felt, I was so upset. And then I thought about destashing it, but then I felt like it wasn't in the best of qualities. And then every time I felt it, I can't describe to you how soft this fabric is, particularly on this inside. It feels so brushed and like a cloud. It's amazing. And the idea of being enveloped in this is one that has it's always been on my mind. I wanted to have something where I could just be so cozy and feel so amazing in this, but all that pilling really made me upset with this fabric. So I didn't necessarily want to make a lounge set because I didn't know, like, would I wear this outside that much? I'm not sure. However, after making that butterfly abaya, I was like, that was so simple. And I went to go and find this fabric. Initially, my plan was to make it, to gift it to one of my girlfriends because I really just wanted her to feel like I was giving her a big old hug, because that's what I wanted to do at this moment. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. I had 3 yards of this as well. In my mind, I had so much more. I had 3 yards, but it was quite wide, which was nice. And I decided, because it wasn't long enough, she's taller than me, and this, it just makes it to my ankle. I wanted to make it into a prayer gown. My cousin has a prayer gown, which is like all in one. It has the hijab, as you can see, long sleeves, just big and billowy, and something, especially with Ramadan coming up, possibly going to the mosque more often in the evenings, and it's still so cold, or even just being at home, having something that I could lounge in, that like I'm ready to pray all the time. I really wanted that. So I made something similar. I folded the fabric in half, again, hamburger style, with the 3 yards. So it was 1.5 yards length. That's the length of it. And then I cut off the sides to the width of this, whatever this width is. From the length here, I cut out a portion to do sleeves, because it was shorter. You see it came to my elbow with the original cut that I made. So with the extra, I did a sleeve. I had enough of the scraps where I put a cuff on there just to hold it in place. I did put some pleats so that I could ease it into the cuff there. So that worked. I attached the neckline, like the neckline is just cut. I will go back in and bias bind this. But it's just, it's wide enough for me to get my head through, so I'm not gonna add a zipper or anything like that. And then I attached the scarf all the way around it. All the way around that neckline there. And it's all in one. Another thing that I did, just to give me some more ease when I'm tying the scarf, I added like a little moon shape here to the front, so that it just frames and fits my face so well. This is the edge of the fabric, so I did not finish off the ends. I just used the natural ends of the fabric bolt, like the selvage, for that, so it just sort of rolls over. It's not going to fray anyways, so it's fine. When I tell you this is the softest thing, it's amazing. I did make it butterfly abaya style, so it does have the 2 strings right here that I could tie it in the back with, but it is meant to be so cozy and billowy that honestly, I don't know that I would want to tie it tightly, but it is there, it's an option. Yeah, so I ended up, I'm not going to gift this anymore because I just don't think that the fabric turned out the way that I wanted it to. It's still like, even with the pilling and all of that, I couldn't tell if the fabric itself was pilling or if it was the fluff from the newly purchased towels. I still want to make something using a wool from my stash. I have selected this one. I've been going back and forth about different wools, but I have selected this one. I have washed it. I put it in the washing machine. I put it in the dryer. It did shrink. It did all the things. It got super fluffy as well. But as you can see, it has this really beautiful speckling in it. It has this sort of off-white cream color with this almost grayish sort of looking color in these stripes with those speckles. So for a long time I struggled. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do? Do I want to add piping? Would I add piping in the speckly colors, or do I want to pick out the cream? I think I have decided to keep it cute, keep it classy and simple, and go with the cream to bring out the cream in there. And I also have this cream knit that I made the Vogue dress out of, and I think those together might work really well. And I have the knit because I was thinking I might want to do a bomber jacket out of this. So I have these 2 bomber jackets. I have Simplicity 8418, which is a raglan sleeve, more fitted bomber jacket. And then I have this men's bomber jacket, which is Simplicity 9190, which I've made previously. That's it there in the in a tapestry fabric. So I have this one, and I feel like I've gotten the fit the way that I want it. I just don't know if I want oversized, boxy, big. I could always crop it if I wanted to. I don't know if I want oversized satin sleeve, 2-part sleeve as well, or if I want the raglan, more fitted style. I just don't know which direction I want to go with it. Additionally, this week I printed and cut out the Love Notions quilted coat, the Coda coat. And I purchased some Love Notions patterns because I won I think I won a gift voucher to Love Notions through the Selfless Sew April challenge in 2023 maybe. And I have pieced it together. Not only do I have a quilt that I thrifted years ago that I've been thinking about making a coat out of, but also I was like, I could use it for my wool potentially, but I've never made this before. Nor have I made the Simplicity bomber jacket, but at least I know the shape and style of that. So do I get another fabric, test this out, and then see? I don't know. And then I have these remnant scraps of this wool fabric. It has a lot more texture to it. And this is a remnant from a, what is it? A poncho that I had made my mom. This is one of the wools that we had picked up from G Street Fabrics years ago, in 2022 I think. And I had made her a poncho, which I don't ever think I shared on the channel, but these were the remnant pieces. It's not much, as you can see, like literally strips, because it was a very boxy poncho, so it wasn't much here. This is the largest piece that I have, and that's it. So how can I piece this together? And I don't mind piecing stuff together. You know me, I will piece something together. How can I piece it together to actually make this work for me? You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be feasible, but it's an idea. So I'm just curious. I don't know what I want to do, but I do want to work with one of my wools, whether it's this one, and I test out the simplicity pattern. Would it fit on there? I don't know. Maybe if I hack some things. I think this print, it's so bold and busy that I could probably like, I would figure it out. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Last weekend on Sunday was also Hijab Fest at Howard University, which is a historically black college and university in Washington, D.C. So that HBCU is one that I'm familiar with. I've been there a number of times. And the girls there from their Muslim Student Association host this program that's called Hijab Fest, which is amazing. It brings together beautiful people from the DMV. So a lot of black Muslim hijabis. It's not just for black Muslim women, but that was the majority of the women that I saw present at the event. And it was a phenomenal time. And to kind of come right as we're looking ahead to Ramadan felt really fitting and felt really nice. To be in that company was really beautiful. I saw so many displays of modesty that still reflected the individual's personal style and allowed them to sort of carry out and live out their idea of modesty authentically. And it was really, really nice. It was just a solid reminder for me of why I started sewing in the first place. And I just wanted to be able to bridge a gap between my personal style, wanting to dress modestly, and doing so in a way that I didn't feel like I was layering and feeling just unlike myself and wearing things that I didn't want to wear. And as time has gone on, as I've evolved in how I want to dress, how I want to present myself, I feel like there are moments where I'm making things that I feel like is compromising this idea of modesty for me and where I am with my modesty at this time. So I think one of the reasons why the denim dress and it being like midi length was such a frustrating thing for me in that moment was like, I get to make my own clothes. And I don't want a midi length dress. Like, that's not what I was setting out to make. And the fact that I am settling or continuing to make these things that are just shy of, or I feel self-conscious in them, or they're not really the length that I want, like all of these like compromises that I would do if I was buying something that was store-bought. I'm like, that's literally defeating the purpose. You're spending hours making this thing. Make it exactly as you want it, right? Like, don't cut those corners because that's the point. Like, that's the reason you started sewing. If not, you could go and find a midi length denim dress somewhere, I'm sure. So it was a good reminder. All that to say, it was a good reminder, and I was like, I want to get back to that. If you have any thoughts down below for this gorgeous, like the main wool that I'm trying to work out, please let me know. What is your vote for this fabric? Could you let me know in the comments down below? Coat Coat, Simplicity Men's, Simplicity Women's bomber jackets. Those are my three options. I would love to make something out of it. I think the light and brighter color of it would allow it to transition from winter to spring really nicely as I start wearing those lighter colors. And it's just a fabric. I thrifted this years ago. I couldn't even tell you. I was so pleased to have found it. It was $3.99. And I think I have 1.5 yards of it. Again, it has shriveled up because I did put it in the washing machine and dryer, just because I wanted to get all the shrinkage out. I do not mind doing that, but I'm not going to make it and then it accidentally gets put in the wash one day and then I'm sad. So I was very happy I did that. I'm willing to line it. Just let me know what your thoughts are there. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Stay creative, friends. Bye-bye.